Yards per play, total yards per game, best ever. So they've humiliated a lot of really bad defenses. Buffalo, they scored 20. New England struggled in the second half. They play Philadelphia, by the way, next week. Jalen Carter's coming back. They won't look like they've looked against a bad team. So Miami's wins are against teams that are 4-22. They're a bit of a Big 12 team. It feels like some empty calories. Those Big 12 teams score 60 a game, go play an SEC team and get their head bashed in. But Miami looks like a team from Miami should look like. Fun, flair, flashy, fast. They're the speedboat of the NFL. If you put Miami Vice theme music under their highlights, it would be perfect. Speedboats in January, windy, cold weather are silly and useless. But 70 against Denver, 42 against Carolina, almost 40 against the Chargers. As I watch the Dolphins, it's like if Bitcoin, NFTs, and infomercial and TikTok had a baby, it would be Miami's offense. It's just a lot of stuff. I don't know how sustainable it is. I don't necessarily buy it in December and January. I think it's fun. But when I watch the way this league turns out year after year, there's September, early October football, a lot of points. Then injuries pile up. Pass protection and pass rushes become really important. And those kind of teams sort of tail off. I kind of feel that's Miami. But they are a blast to watch. And if you're not buttoned up, they will humiliate you. So, Lincoln.
Hello, Miami. This is 305 Sports Now, your home podcast and channel for all things Miami sports related. I am Will, and what you heard right now was Colin Cowherd. Yes, the Colin Cowherd of FS1, making his analysis of the Miami Dolphin offense and whether or not it is sustainable for an entire season. And he based it upon, the numbers in front of him and the opponents and the head-to-head matchups in which the Miami Dolphins face. Now, if you're out there, this is actually a good thing. I will say this is a good thing because the Miami Dolphins are being talked about in every single sports channel, a YouTube sphere, content creator you could think of, right, that covers the NFL at a national level outside of us being local. Because of the fact that they're just playing really good football right now, the offense is absolutely humming. Last year, it was all about the passing game and Tyreek Hill. This year, the Miami Dolphins are both number one in passing and also number one in rushing. Okay, number one in passing, also number one in rushing. Tua Tagovailoa and Tyreek Hill are both making a case for why, at this moment, right, quarter of the season in, one of them should be the MVP of the National Football League. And it is quite interesting because those are just points that Colin Cowherd is just basically, trying to say. Now I'm going to give you my perspective on what Cowherd is saying, and I do have a little bit of complaints about what he said, in particular, but I do want to talk about just a little bit of what he mentioned. So if you heard what he said, in that clip that I provided for you, he basically compares the Miami Dolphins to a speedboat that is useless or silly in January and December. A lot of stuff he called our offense and a Miami Vice theme song, pretty much he compared it to. And, the Miami Dolphins are a speedboat. Okay, they are a speedboat. They are fast. They are fun. They are completely energetic and so on. And 4-22. Yes, the combined records of their opponents are 4-22. But you know what? Miami is destroying them. Okay, Miami Dolphins did lose to Buffalo, and in Buffalo, that is a division game. Those teams have been playing each other for years. So there's a bit of familiarity there, and there's reasons why the Miami Dolphins lost that game. I don't think the outcome will be the same in December when Buffalo comes over to the Rock. So let's get that straight as well. Also, the same thing with New England. With New England, it was something very similar. As well. It's a division game. They know each other, and on defense, although it hasn't really seemed that way because the Patriots, are not playing very well. Bill Belichick is still a pretty good defensive coach, and he's been coaching against Tua for a while. And also, he can't also seem to beat Tua. So it's got to get that straight. But the numbers that Miami's putting up against their opponents are absolutely gaudy. 7 points, 40 points, over 30 points. I mean, Dolphin offense, the number one in points per game, as well. They're putting up college football numbers on their opponents. So he's right. If he wants to compare a Big Ten team versus a squallery team, that's fine. But the bottom line is it's not a Big Ten team, and they're not facing a Division II opponent. They're facing another football team in the National Football League. Okay, these are still guys with contracts making money. They're not kids that are in schools where the facilities aren't exactly up to par. The Miami Dolphins are facing who is on the schedule, and they're pounding them and pounding them and pounding them. So those are just things that he mentioned. Now he talked about a bit about the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, mind you have to give Philadelphia the respect. Jalen Hurts is a solid quarterback. They have a very good receiving core. They probably have the best offensive line in the NFL. You could say the Miami Dolphin offensive line is overachieving, but who cares? All right, they're being very, very, very successful at doing so. Guys like Austin Jackson, have really and Kendall Lamb have really stepped up and so on, and they've contributed to the success of this football team. But I really want people to understand this: the Philadelphia Eagles, their opponents, the combination of wins and losses, better than Miami's, okay? 12-17. But the Philadelphia Eagles have been in dogfights with these football teams like the Washington Commanders, right? The Washington Commanders, okay? They've struggled to beat them. They lost to the New York Jets, a team that they should be better than, that don't have their all-pro quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, okay? So Philadelphia is a very vulnerable team that Miami could jump on if they get lucky. Now, I will get into the dangers of the Philadelphia Eagles in about a minute, but I want you guys to understand is that the Miami Dolphins are capable of hanging with this football team and pulling off a victory in Philadelphia Sunday evening on national television. So, okay, again, Philadelphia. Let's talk about them. We talked about how Miami Dolphins are number one offense in the NFL. Philadelphia's number 2. Okay, so they are no slouch of a team. They have Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, 2 very talented receivers as well. So you can't take that away from them. Again, a very talented offensive line. The Philadelphia Eagles have the 9th best defense in the NFL as well. But he talked about injuries piling up. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles injuries. He mentioned Jalen Carter coming back. According to the roster, of which I read on ESPN, Jalen Carter is still listed as questionable. So it's not yet official that he will play Sunday against the Fins, okay? And their cornerback, Darius Slay, is also listed as questionable as well. And wide receiver Devontae Smith is also listed as questionable as well. So these guys might even play, all right, Sunday. The Miami Dolphins are missing their second best corner in Jalen Ramsey. They're missing their best offensive tackle in Teron Armstead as well. And also whom I saw on the injury list as well. Let's see, we saw Howard, Ramsey. Okay, so basically Howard, Ramsey, and Armstead. Those are the ones I really wanted. But that's right. And Jalen Howard may not play, or he's questionable. I think he is going to go with a slight groin injury as well. So these are just things that are going on right now. Every football team has a little bit of a nick and neck. The Miami Dolphins are relatively healthy. The main players on offense are available and ready to go. But I do think the Miami Dolphins do have a very good chance of upsetting the Philadelphia Eagles over in Philadelphia. Again, respect. They are the defending NFC champions, and they could have won the Super Bowl defeating the Kansas City Chiefs. But nonetheless, right, the Miami Dolphins are a team that you just can't play with. Yes, you play your record. These are still NFL teams, and they're beating them down. They beat down the Panthers. They beat down the Giants. They beat down the Broncos as well. They won a shootout against the Chargers. Okay, they beat the Patriots as well. So hold the phone there, right, as well. So let's get a few things twisted. So, my perspective. So Colin Cowherd talks about one thing about Colin Cowherd. Okay, is that he is a provocateur. The difference between him and Skip Bayless and someone like that doofus Mad Dog Russo, who I'm going to get to at the end of this week or sometime this weekend, because it's the comments he said about Tyreek Hill. He doesn't like Skip Bayless to me comes across as insincere sometimes, and I'm not the only one that says that. People I know who I'm interviewed on this program, have told me the same thing, how they feel about Skip Bayless. Fans and who like football, like sports, have said the same thing about Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless comes across as insincere to a lot of people and just looking for the attention of the guy that just wants people to talk about him, at the water cooler the next day. Let me explain why. One thing I don't like about Skip Bayless, and I'll get back to Colin in a minute, is that he makes his career out of bashing athletes. Okay, he's not a Stuart Scott that his charisma and his wittiness on the microphone made him successful. He's not a Kevin Harlan, that as a commentator is just unique and brings I will say, professional wrestling approach to calling games. Okay, with the excitement, and so on. Skip Bayless makes a living off of bashing people. Okay, as a matter of fact, it is so apparent that is so that in Rocky Balboa, he criticized Rocky Balboa, and that was scripted. That was scripted, written for him because that's who he is. I'll give you an example. LeBrick James. I'm a Miami Heat fan. I'm not the biggest LeBron guy, but I will tell you personally that LeBron James is a top 5 NBA player of all time. I will concede to that. He's the top 5 NBA player of all time. And not only that, when he won the MVP the year that Kyrie Irving hit, a big time shot, which by the way was an assist by LeBron still deserved the MVP. Skip Bayless had the gall to say Kyrie Irving deserved the MVP. No, he did not. Okay, that's what I don't like about Skip Bayless. And Mad Dog Russo, I'll save him for Friday or Saturday morning because I have a lot to say about him as well because he's just doofus in my eyes. But Colin Cowherd is a guy that he says things to get your attention, but he articulates it, in a perspective that you can kind of understand where he's coming from. And that's why I'm not that animus towards him. But I will say this, though. The Miami Dolphin offense is something that can be sustained. They will get Jalen Ramsey back, right? They will get Jalen Ramsey back. The Miami Dolphins, are a football team that is going to get Teron Armstead back, their best left tackle, getting Jalen Ramsey back, and Tyreek Hill has been proven to be very durable. If Tyreek, Jalen Waddle stay healthy and Tua can play an entire season, this team is absolutely dangerous. And yes, it is sustainable because a lot of teams that have been dominant and won Super Bowls have been a very balanced in terms of their offense, have had a very dominant offense, have had a very dominant defense. I'll give you an example. The Dallas Cowboys. When the Dallas Cowboys were winning championships when Troy Aikman was their quarterback, their offense was a nightmare to deal with Emmitt Smith, that offensive line. You had Jay Novacek at tight end, and you had Michael Irvin at wide receiver. Okay, that was a very dynamic football team. Then you go into Montana. Okay, Montana had Roger Craig, he had John Taylor and Jerry Rice as well. So for real complete, look who Tua has. Look who they have. The only quarterback that has sustained a legacy that I have seen that has done it with minimal talent has been Tom Brady. And I'm taking away Randy Moss. I'm talking about a guy who won championships with Troy Brown and Deion Branch. Okay, he's like the only guy in the modern era that I have seen that has done it consistently with not so all-star type of wide receivers. So most guys, when they win championships, they have a star wide receiver. Okay, and last year, the Kansas City Chiefs won it without Tyreek Hill, but now their offense isn't the same, and it was bound to happen. People find film on you, they expose you, but Mahomes still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So what I'm trying to say is that barring injury. And he did say that injuries pile up, but barring injury, major injuries to major talents on the football team, this offense could get better. Now, my one concern is that the Miami Dolphins are 20th ranked in defense, but guess what? They're 3rd ranked in sacks. They do get to the quarterback, and I do see them getting to the quarterback eventually against Jalen Hurts if it becomes passing situations almost. So if the Miami Dolphins can get a top 10 defense and maintain their success on offense, even if they don't finish number 1, let's say they finish 2 or 3. They're going to be very, very dangerous in the playoffs because if they consistently play the way they've been playing, you're looking at a team that may have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And the Miami Dolphins are very dangerous at home. And that Hard Rock atmosphere at home, playoff game, a fan base that has been hungry to get back to the Super Bowl and win. And we have a chance with Vic Fangio as D coordinator and Mike McDaniel calling these unique, innovative motion plays. Sky's the limit. Because the one thing the Dolphins had last year is that they got way too pass happy. That's not the case anymore. Okay? You have Raheem Mostert, and we still have a guy named Devon Achane that is coming back. And Devon Achane is averaging 12 yards per carry. So get ready, folks, because the Lamborghinis are not yet going to stop rolling. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you heard, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to 5 Sports Now. Once again, I am Will. Stay safe. God bless you soon. Go Fins. All right. Bye, guys.